first thing that should be answered in regard to PFD is what goes where and how it is displayed. Hi, this is Professor Mozandi, and in this short video I'm going to give you useful tips to create high quality PFD sheets. The process flow diagram, or PFD, represents a quantum step up from the BFD in terms of the amount of information that it contains. The PFD contains the bulk of the chemical engineering data necessary for the design of the chemical process leading to development of PNID. A PFD set is developed by the engineers during the design step of the project, but will later be used in a process plan during operations. It is used by individuals with different levels of knowledge on and familiarity with a PFD. A PFD may need to be read by engineers, managers with management degrees, trade practitioners, and many others. It is also give enough information about the project that readers from different backgrounds will be able to understand. There are no universally accepted standards for creating PFDs. The PFD from one company will probably contain slightly different information from the PFD for the same process from another company. Having made this point, it is fair to say that most PFDs convey very similar information. A typical commercial PFD will contain the following information. All the major pieces of equipment in the process will be presented on the diagram along with the description of the equipment. Each piece of equipment will have a unique equipment number and a descriptive name. Secondly, all process flow streams will be shown and identified by a number. A description of the process condition and chemical composition of each stream will be included. These data will be either displayed directly on the PFD or using a stream table. And finally, all utility streams supplied to major equipment that provide a process function must be shown as well. It is clear that the PFD is a more complex diagram than a BFD or block flow diagram, requiring a substantial effort to prepare. It is essential that it should remain uncluttered and be easy to follow to avoid errors in presentation and in interpretation. Now I'm going to describe 10 simple rules for you. If you follow these simple rules, it will help you to create good quality PFDs. Rule number 1. Your PFD sheet should be in landscape orientation. You should develop it from left to right, top to bottom. So avoid any portrait orientation when you are developing your PFD sheet. Rule number 2. Limit the number of main equipment you are showing on your sheet. Stick to the main equipment. Avoid crowding or overcrowding your PFD. PFD should be simple and easy to understand. You should be able to follow the streams. Rule number 3. Your PFD is a diagram of your process. Is a pictorial document. So minimize number of the notes or text that you put on your sheet. So you have to only put major equipment in the process on your sheet, all the process flow streams, all the utility streams and services, and finally only essential valves, not all the valves or control instruments. This is a very good example of a high quality PFD. So you can see all the major equipments and the process streams are on the sheet, plus the major and essential valves. Also, as you can see, it is developed left to right, top to bottom, and it is not to the scale. Remember, PFD is not to the scale. Rule number 4, draw PFD symbols as similar as possible to what an item looks in reality for columns, tanks, heat exchangers, etc. And remember, it is not to the scale. So it is a D-size document. There is no standard for symbols. Most of the companies, possibly they have got their own standards. Those symbols are available in the tools that engineers are using, and they draw them from the libraries and then add them to the sheet. There are standard softwares like AutoCAD or others that engineers are using these days, but also depends on what standards the companies are using. It's have to follow the guidelines as well. Rule number 5. As mentioned, PFD is not to scale drawing. Remember the previous rule. So if you have got 100 meters of the pipe, you don't need to represent that on your PFD. Use a short line on a PFD to show a few 100 meters of a pipe. Rule number 6. Do not pack symbols on one side of the PFD sheet. The symbol should be fairly spread out throughout your working area. Avoid cluttering your PFD sheet. It should be uncluttered and clear and easy to follow. Rule number 7. Generally, an equipment is arranged horizontally on one level. Always develop your sheet left to right, top to bottom. On an ideal PFD sheet, any imaginary vertical line should at maximum cross one equipment symbol. PFD will be too difficult to understand when equipment symbols are stacked on each other and the connection between the symbols and the equipment callouts are difficult to be identified. This is a very good example that the two equipment on top of each other avoided in your PFD sheet. When the streams or pipes or lines are crossing, there are two different ways that you can represent them on your PFD sheet. You can use a jump method or a jogging one. Doesn't matter which one you use, but stick to one method. Be consistent on your PFD sheet. Also remember, in terms of the priority, the highest priority are with the horizontal process lines, and then vertical process lines, and then instrument signals at the end. Rule number 8. All the different elements on PFD sheet should be connected to each other. So if you have got a one equipment or a group of elements with no connection to the rest of the process, then avoid putting them on your PFD sheet. Maybe they should be on the different PFD sheet, but not on that one. In this good example that you can see, there is a one equipment. For example, it's the column which is not connected to the rest of the process. It shouldn't be there simply. Following rule number 8, make sure there is no visiting stream on your PFD sheet. A visiting stream is a stream with no connection with other items on the sheet. For example, on this example, you see that there is a visiting stream which it comes and leaves the diagram without any connection with the major process on the PFD sheet. So please avoid it. And finally, rule number 10, do not try to represent a PFD in a way that follows the geographical directions north, south, east, or west, for example. PFD sheets are drawn independent of these geographical directions. And finally, if you are interested to learn more about producing high quality PFDs and PNIDs, these are the two good readings, Chapter 4 of Piping and Instrumentation Diagram Development and Chapter 1 of the Analysis, Synthesis and Design of Chemical Processes. Thank you.